Hey, Jeffrey Pepper Rogers back with another episode of Guitar Sessions. And you probably recognized what I was playing there as some riffs from Van Morrison's Brown Eyed Girl. Basically, what I'm doing there is I'm playing two notes. I'm playing double stops, so two strings at the same time. And those notes are separated by the interval of a sixth. So basically, I'm harmonizing a melody with notes that are a sixth apart. And that sound of guitar lines that are harmonized in sixths is just really classic, heard in all kinds of music, in lead guitar styles, as well as just in the riffs that hold together a bunch of songs. So what I'm going to do in this lesson is cover what these sixth intervals are, how to find them, and play them over different chords, and how they're used in a bunch of classic songs. So in this lesson, I'm going to focus on major chords, and then in a follow-up lesson, I'm going to be digging into minor chords and seventh chords. You can put this all together over a variety of chord progressions. So as with all the lessons in this series, you can find the tab and the charts for everything that I'm doing over on Patreon. So let's dig in. So these lines that I'm playing here are derived from the major scale. So if we just start off talking here in the key of C, if I were to start on that second string first fret C note and play a C major scale just going straight up the second string, it would sound like this. That's just an octave of a C major scale going up the second string there. And now if I were to start back down here in open position and add in the fourth string, but start on that E note, second fret of the fourth string. So as you probably know from just your C major shape here, that is also a note in a C chord. That's the third of the chord, but it's down below the C, which is the root. And so the interval between that E and that C is a sixth because it's 6 steps in the scale. So starting on the E, we go, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. To go from that E to that C is a sixth. So now we're going to play these two, this second and fourth string together right here. And because these strings are not adjacent on the guitar, I'm using hybrid picking here, which means that I'm picking the fourth string with the pick, and I am using my middle finger to grab the upper voice. Of course, you can do this with no pick and just play with your fingers, and that works equally well. But what you can't really do and get the clean sound of those two notes together is to strum across it, because they wouldn't be sounding at exactly the same time, and you'd get that noise from the string in between. So what we want is just that clean sixth interval, second and fourth strings here. So just to zero in on that fourth string here, if I were to start on that E but play notes of the C major scale going up the neck on the fourth string, it would be like this. That's going up to C, and if I were to continue, that would take me an octave up to another E here at the 14th fret. So if I were to just take that scale that I did on the second string with the scale I did on the fourth string and put them together, play them with that hybrid picking, so I'm getting those double stops, here is what I get. So voila, what we've got there is a C major scale that is harmonized in sixths. So on top, we go from the root up to the root. And on the bottom, we're starting on that E, and we're going up to another E, an octave higher. So there we've got a set of sixth intervals going up the second and fourth strings. But here's the cool thing. You can do the exact same fat finger pattern over on the first and third strings. So we started here on the second and fourth strings. Just move these fingers over a string. So now they're on the first and third strings, but in the at the same frets. First string, first fret, third string, second fret. So if I were, just like we did in C, if I were to start on this note, which is an F, and go up the scale, I would be playing an F major scale like this. So that is just the exact same frets that I was playing when I was doing it in C here, starting on the second string. So that was it going up the first string. Now, if I were to do on the third string what I was doing on the fourth string a minute ago in C, if I were going to start on this A note here and go up, it would sound like this. If I were to play it all the way up to A, that's what I would get. And then, just as we did in C, if I were to put those two together, I got this. So I'm starting on that F. So the reason I was doing that in C and then in F is just to demonstrate that the finger pattern, the fret pattern is exactly the same. I can play that on the C. I can play that on the F. So basically what we're doing in playing these riffs that I'm going to be sharing is using just pieces of these harmonized scales. So if you're allergic to thinking about scales, another way you can think about this is just in terms of chord shapes. Like we started on this, on the C. Well, you probably recognize that as being part of just an open C chord shape. And if we go up to this on the fifth fret, on the second and fourth string, maybe you recognize that as being like an A shape that's, if you're familiar with the caged system, it's like an A shape that's at the fifth fret. So it's a piece of this C bar chord here. So that would be a couple of places where you could recognize the pattern that we're using by picking two notes out of these chord shapes. So if we're to think about the ones on the first and third strings in the same way, this is like a little piece of an E type of a shape that's just up at the first fret, right? That's what's giving us that F chord. So this is like the top, two notes from the top of that E type shape. And then if we were to take that up to the fifth fret, another way you might think about that is as a piece of what would be like a D shape at the fifth fret here. So in other words, you might be able to identify where you are and find these sixth intervals by thinking of them in terms of the chord shapes that use those combinations of strings. All right, so let's dig into some classic riffs here. So the first one that I want to share is from Proud Mary, the great Creedence Clearwater Revival song. So to match the original key, I'm gonna play this in the key of D. I'm going to sing it down low just for illustration purposes. You know, at the end of that chorus, rolling, rolling, rolling on a river. Probably recognize that. So that little riff. So remember, we're in D. So a little piece of that pattern that I showed you on, it was originally in the key of C when we looked at it. You just move that up 2 frets. We're starting at the 3rd fret on the 2nd string. So that's where we find this in the key of D. That's the root on top. That's our D note. And we just slide up here to the 7th fret. And these, with these 6th, it sounds really great to do a lot of sliding like this. So I'm starting here, 7th fret, 5th fret, down to the 3rd and 4th fret, up to the 5th fret and back down again. And there's that just simple little riff. Rolling on a river. Echoes the melody, sweet little punctuation to that refrain line there. Another classic example would be Cat Stevens' Peace Train. So this is just a little bit of the intro. Key of C this time. And we'll start off with this right in that C position here, open. So we'll start off with that C here, and then I'm going to go to the 3rd fret and slide up to the 5th fret, and then back down again. That's the first part of the riff right there. Then we're going to go to an F chord, and we're going to land on this, but with a little hammer on. We're not going to play this as a double stop this time, but hammer on to the 3rd string, 2nd fret, and then play that 1st string. And then I'm going to slide up to the 3rd fret on the 3rd string, 3rd fret on the 1st string. So that line on the F is... When you put that all together, you get this. 1, 2, 3, and... And that riff continues, and I'm going to show you the rest of it in the follow-up here when we get into the minor chords. Here's another example. Jerry Garcia was a big fan of these kind of sixth, that's a hard word to say, sixths riffs. So here's a classic example is the song Candyman. So it starts off going from a B flat to an F to a C. So when we're on the B flat, that's where we find that shape is at the 6th fret. There's our B flat note on the top. I'm going to slide up to it. Slide from the 5th fret up to the 7th fret. And then, so this is over an F, so you may remember that's like as if it's a piece of a D shape here at the 5th fret. So again, sliding up to it though, and then it goes to a C chord, and we go sliding from 2 frets down again. So you don't always have to play the two notes together. You can kind of go play them in alternating like that, or put them together into different patterns. So again, this is the harmony. Is B flat. But you're going to be able to hear that even just in the riff. 2, 3, and... Simple, sweet little riff. It underscores the harmony and makes a nice opening to that song. Here's another use of this sound in a kind of a classic blues turnaround. Let's say you're playing a blues in G. You heard that in a million songs, right? So if you're in G, remember that same pattern, which if we were playing it on a G, we could find right here, starting at the 3rd fret. Well, if you go up to the 7th fret and take it down by half steps rather than jumping down to the 5th fret, so the 3rd string first and then the 3rd, down a fret, down another fret, and land on that G. And if we put it in that kind of swing rhythm, we've got a classic blues turnaround. So one that you could play in whatever key you wanted. If I was in A, and one other way to look at that too is if you're playing it in E, and you'll hear this all the time, is if you were playing, so the riff started here at the 4th fret, but then at the end, on an E chord, I've actually got an open string for my top note, and then the 1st fret on the 3rd string for my lower note. So there you have a supremely useful little blues riff that you can put to work in a lot of contexts. Here's another quick example, also in the key of E. The Ballad of John and Yoko, the Beatles, which is just a 1-4-5 song in E, so it just uses E, A, and B, or B7. In the chorus of that song, there's this series of 6th riffs on all 3 of those chords. You know, going into the chorus of that song, you're going, Christ, you know it ain't easy. Go to that A chord. So on the A, there's that same as the blues riff I was just doing, but here it is in A, so you know how hard it can be. So this same one that I showed you on the going down to the open string on the 1st and 3rd strings, you can also play the exact same notes up here. Is another way to play that same riff. And then the song goes to a B. Here's our B chord. So we're starting at that 7th fret, but the riff is going to go all the way up to the 11th, down to the 7th, and then Christ, you know it ain't easy. You know how hard it can be. The way things are going, they're gonna crucify me. Dead simple, same riff, just played over those 3 chords works great in that song. And even without anybody playing those chords, anybody playing the harmony, you can kind of hear it in what I'm playing, because I'm doing all these chord tones in those little harmonized riffs I was playing. So finally, the tune that I started with, the chords are just G, C, G, D. Same again. Now, the riffs that I'm doing, so the first line of it is going to start here at the 8th fret on the 2nd string and the 9th fret of the 4th string. So again, those notes are the same as these ones over here, but I'm going to choose to play it here because it's going to be convenient for moving over to my C and my D chords. So same pattern we were using before. Again, sliding up to the 12th fret and going back down. Then I'm just going to move that riff right over to the 1st and 3rd string. Exact same thing. Do it again on G. And I'm going to just touch that on that's a little piece of a D chord right there, but I'm maintaining that 6th harmony. And I could either just, to keep the melody going, I could just add in the 3rd string there, or if I wanted to keep the 6th harmony going on that dum 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 boom boom, I could play it like this, 2nd and 4th strings. Now that is the 7th fret on the 3rd string, and I'm going over to the 9th fret on the 5th string. For that little touch on a D, and then I'm going to go back up and start again to the G, on the C, and the G. So I repeated that whole part, and then I'm just going to tag it with another little riff that comes from this song, where I'm going to start up here, my index on the 10th fret on the 1st string, and 3rd string, 11th fret. So that is like the top of a D shape here. So I'm going to play, I'm going to take it from here at the 10th and 11th frets, down 2 frets, over to the 12th fret on the 2nd and 4th strings, and back down here. So all this is just straight out of a G major scale. And again, I could keep going down the 1st and 3rd strings if I wanted to. But I'm choosing to switch over to the 2nd and 4th strings so that I can stay closer in the same position. So here's what that all is like, putting it together. 1, 2, 3, 4. So as you can see, I'm kind of sometimes sliding that up, sometimes just playing those clean notes without the slide, however you want to hear that. So that's just a bunch of examples of things only using major chords to get all these riffs. And once we add in a few other chord types, really got the tools to be playing these kinds of harmonized lines, these sixth intervals, and a whole bunch of different chord progressions and keys. So I hope you find this all useful, and once again, you can find the charts and the tab for everything that I'm doing over on Patreon. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will catch you next time.